got nothing, Muse. I don't know why that came out of me. So, Muse, a couple things, actually. This week, I heard from one of my favorite musicians, who happens to be one of my artistic idols, that he was putting an end to one of his his band, and he was going to move on to other projects. And there were a number of justifications. One of them, initially, it was all about how he just didn't have time to do everything, and then it became about finances, and then he said he just has to follow his muse. And of course, when he said that, I was like, ding, 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 because I was crushed at first. I mean, this was a band that had inspired me to write so much, and he's a genius. And but when he said, he has to follow his muse, I thought, well, okay, I get that, because it is the very reason why I write in so many different genres, because I have to follow you. I have to, wherever you lead me, I have to go. If you're tired of writing this, if you're tired of writing X, then you decide, I want to go over and write Y, then I have to follow you, and I have to go write Y. And so I get that. And I think that, and I've always felt that ever since I've been an artist, from my little kid as someone who thought he was going to be, an artist, as someone who could draw, which I couldn't. Eventually, turns out I can't even draw stick figures. To an actor, to a writer, I know how important the muse is, and I know that if my artistic doings runs counter to what my muse is telling me, things are going to go awry. So I get that, and I understand it now. I don't like it. I don't like that my favorite band has disbanded, but what can you do? But at least now I understand. And, even beyond the financial aspect of it, because I can only imagine how expensive it would be to keep a band going, and then all of these other projects that you desperately want to do. And I know that because I have all of this stuff that I want to write, and all of these projects that I want to do, and there may not ever be enough time to do them all. And I'm not willing to draw back my process to the way it was, where I had less respect for the craft, and I was just cranking out things. And I would give this same advice to any artist, any artist out there, that you may think that just continually cranking things out as fast as you can and putting them out into the public for consumption as fast as you can is doing you a favor, but it's not. It's a short-term fix, and in the long run, it will come back to bite you. These are our babies that we are creating, and they deserve the time and effort that we should give them. They deserve more time and effort. If you think you're putting in enough time, I guarantee you they could probably use more time. So stop cranking them out because you think that momentum is on your side. What is on your side is your craft and respect for that craft. I mean, why sell yourself out for a dime? Anyway, that's not really what I wanted to even talk about today, Muse. I have something much more important to discuss with you. And when I say it's important, you know that means. It's probably not. In the grand scheme of things, I guess. But this is important to me. I want to talk about POTUS for a little bit. I knew this book was going to be hard for so many reasons. And I've talked to you about why this book is hard. But recently I came into a situation during this book where there's a moment where the two presidential candidates are debating. And I had a choice at this point. And it kind of, upon reflection, I think I made this choice much earlier in the book. But I had a choice. I could take this book and turn it into a more true-to-life political, not piece of political fiction, wherein that everything that I was writing reflects the truth of how the political process goes, and how and that the thrust of the book is more about not political history, but about politics. But I know in my heart that that's not what I wanted to write. What I wanted to write was a sort of satirical commentary on the current state of our political environment. And I know that that's what this book is about. It's a satirical commentary on our political system. And it made me think about when I was writing the Fringe Killer series. And during the process of writing that, when you're writing thrillers, crime thrillers, you have a choice. You can turn them into procedural books, or you can go more towards the thriller aspect of it. And procedural books sell really well because people like to see how the sausage is made. But the problem with writing procedural books is that you have to know the procedure. You have to know the truth of how things work behind the scenes. And I started, at one point while I was writing that series, I started reading books on how things are done with investigations and things like that. And I realized how very complicated it is. And that getting something wrong from that aspect is damning. Because people that read procedural books require that the procedure be exactly right. And I do not have a degree in criminology. And I don't want a degree in criminology to write thrillers. And that's part of the issue that writers face, especially writers who write a multitude of genres. You can't know everything. You can try, you can want, but you can't know everything. And because of that, I have to dramatize things. I have to remind myself that I'm writing fiction. And so instead of writing a procedural drama in the Fringe Killer series, I opted to write a series that focuses more on the relationships between the partners and the establishment, and also the very special people that they were trying to protect. And I kind of circumvented the whole procedural thing because I don't, it's not that I love researching and I love learning. I love learning things. But the problem is if I'm going to write this procedural drama thriller, I don't want to spend my time that much time and effort on an aspect that to me is secondary to the relationships, to the story. So it's the exact same thing with POTUS. Now, I believe that I know a bit more about politics than the average person in America. That's not saying much. As much as I hate to say that, it's not saying much that I know more than the average person in America about politics, because the average person in America doesn't really understand the political procedure. They don't get it. Most of them checked out in elementary school, and most adults in this country hate the subject of politics. You go outside of America and you'll find countries that are passionate about politics because they know that politics are the things that can make or break their society. So of course they want to understand that thing which may or may not control their lives. And in America, now I'm trying desperately not to get on my soapbox here, but in America, we, the citizens, we the people, vote our leaders in. We get to choose who gets to lead us. Now, of course, we have the Electoral College, which screws up every once in a while. Twice in my lifetime. Screwed up royally. But we, in the end, we are the ones that can be in control. And we should want to know this. Otherwise, if we decide to hand over the control of our politics to the politicians, then we have no voice. Then we are saying, we don't care what you do with our lives, you do with it what you want. And so I always want to know more, and I always want to try to spread that kind of knowledge. However, I also understand how complicated politics are. And I've had to explain this to many a person that seems to think that politics are vastly more simple than they are. That politics is like a three-dimensional game of chess. And you have to think like 72 moves ahead of where you are currently. It's not a game of checkers. It's 3, 4, 5-dimensional chess. And there are things that even in America, where, the land of the free and home of the brave, blah, 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 there are things that we don't know that go on behind those closed doors in Washington, D.C. So even though we think we can know everything, we cannot know everything. Now, there are certain things, there are procedures that we know, how bills become laws and blah, blah, blah. But that's not the book that I wanted to write. I didn't want POTUS to be about politics. I wanted POTUS to be an examination. Like I said, a satirical commentary on the state of American politics. Almost an absurd commentary, because that's where we are at the moment. And so, when I finally realized that, I felt like there was a weight taken off my shoulders, because I didn't have to write a textbook about how a political campaign happens, because that's been done and it's boring to most people. I wanted to write something that people could enjoy, could laugh at, possibly could get angry about. Ultimately, I wanted to write something that was accessible to people and make them think. And make them open their eyes to say, oh my God, this happened. So that was my realization this week. And I'm nervous. I'm about 60,000 words into POTUS, and I'm not done. I don't know how long it's going to be, probably 70, 80,000 words. And I'm nervous because I'm going to hand this book over to beta readers who've never read my books. Some of them have never read my books, but they have their ear or their fingers on the pulse of American society and how it views politics. So, and I'm hopefully, one of the things I'm hoping that I can do is reach out to some political commentators and say, hey, I wrote this. I think it might be important. Would you read it? Of course, I won't do that till after it's been edited. And then after that happens, after I get opinions and have to rewrite everything, then I'll start searching for an agent for this book. But I think I will be happy when I finish POTUS. I think I will. We'll see. Anyway, Muse, that's what's on my mind right now. After I get done with that, I've got to finish Hell Inc. I've got a short story to write, and then who knows what? Who knows what? I may go back to the Fringe Killers. Who knows? We'll see. Oh no, I've got a screenplay to write, which means I'm going back to the French Killers. Whee! Isn't it fun? Don't you love being in my head, Muse? I sure do. It's just a joy every day. A confusing mess of a joy. All right, I've got to be done. Because I can see you're closing your eyes. Your eyes are half-lidded, Muse. You're done with me. You are done with me, and you are also awesome.